Welcome to the show tonight, Monday night in the Twilight Zone. I hope this finds all of you well, whether you're here live or listening to this at some other date. They have no authority over you. You are the wheat, God's children. They are the tares, Satan's. Should wake up. Just want to welcome everybody that's here live. We will get started very shortly. Noticed a huge uptick in the stalker activity today. As usual, they have no authority over me. You know the deal. Justice is with us. Welcome, Justice. Just getting started here. Glad to have you. Like I said today, Ruckus says, I got a notification. Good for you. Welcome, Ruckus. Glad to have you. Yeah, sometimes they hide those notifications. When I do my live streams or my videos, very few people get them. But that's just part of their game. They want to hide my comments. I'll write up on them in public and film them. Cause and effect, dude. They're blocking some of you. They alter comments. They make them just go away. Child of God is with us. Welcome, Teresa. Glad to have you. Certainly he is getting better. The sooner this place crumbles, the better it's going to be. Because it won't be hidden what's going on in the world and what these people do. But they're all clowns. Eternal fire awaits them. Services rendered. Yeah, also heard in Australia, they're getting ready to go door to door and force it. The mark of the beast on everyone at gunpoint. Ivy is with us. Welcome. Glad to have you. Heard more mumblings about Russia also. Moving soldiers and equipment to the Ukraine. And that's what it is. The illusion that they continue to run on a script that people aren't feeding into anymore, whether biblical based, God fearing people or not, they're still not feeding into it. Even their own don't feed into it. It's part of the hive mind. Controlled opposition. I'm sure some of you have heard that word before. Almost like Alex Jones or something, but amongst the masses. Bootleg. Just deceivers, nothing more and nothing less. But no doubt, The script calls for them all to meet before the collapse. That's probably what you're seeing. Under the disguise of some sort of climate thing. Get ready. Because I feel like we're on borrowed time. I was reading a lot of Bible verses about Babylon being destroyed and the inhabitants. Ruckus is with us. Welcome. I said that already. This thing, see my, I feel like what you guys type in here, and then when it scrolls on its own, it's not fast enough. There's some sort of delay, it feels like. But that's all right. Heard a lot more of those propeller planes today. Still didn't see one, but heard them very loudly. I even tried to look today. I just didn't see them. But that's nothing new. Like I said, world news that I saw today. You know the deal with Russia. They say they're building up troops, soldiers, and equipment and such at the Ukrainian border. Also, Australia. The military is going to go door to door to every house and make them. Heard that today as well. You can look that up. So that'll be interesting. That'll be the beginning, because once that happens over there, that'll start the collapse everywhere. Which means they lose all their private jets, all their limos, all their anything. They're not going to be able to travel freely in zombie land, are they? All their vacation homes. All not realizing they're all dead already. And what's coming is coming for them in that world, and everyone that is still in that world at all. They are going to be shocked at how real it's going to get for them. They're never going to understand why. Yeah. China also freezing their bank accounts. I heard many stories of that. But that's definitely, they can't do it like that here. They just can't. Like we talked about long ago, the oil is in Texas. So they could probably lock down Texas and Florida. And the reason Florida is because they could use both sides for their supplies. Cool of the day, welcome. Yeah, you probably won't hear about it for another week or so in Australia, or if you don't hear about it at all and they just show up, you just see chaos starting. So I wouldn't be surprised in Australia if they don't hear it at all. Just like I said, they're not going to tell you, any of us, the zombie apocalypse is happening till it lands on your doorstep. Don't expect for them to tell you that. That's not why they're there, to keep you informed with fair and balanced news. cool. But that's what it is. And those people aren't going to respond well at all. Nor do they have to. It's all part of the game. Then guess who shows up and crushes them all and shows you his work and tells you he's an amazing person. Everything's going to go back to the way it was. All these things must come to pass. You know the deal. The part that gets long is doing time, waiting for it. Excited to go out and do God's work. Because that's why we're here. But between right now and then, it's tough to try to get through to people. I think the next step in the collapse and the activation, when they activate all of them, I think that'll give us a little bit more opportunity at however God brings it to us. But it's coming. You can feel it. And that's why I think they all gathered in Rome together, part of the script, all together before chaos ensues. But a lot of people haven't realized that that world ended already and it's never coming back. And every day that you wake up, it's a little bit less. It's a little bit more jacked up. Never gonna have more than we had today in that world. Tomorrow will be a little less, and so on and so forth, till it collapses. I've seen videos also that they're not showing you about the garbage piling up. A lot of places. I don't know how many specifically, but you're starting to see pictures and videos of just like mountains of garbage laying everywhere in cities and stuff. Yeah, no doubt about that. That will come to an end as well as everything else. Garbage pickup, the electrical grid, everything. All these things must come to pass. The supply chain breaking down, if not already completely stopped. And that's what it is. La Palma, the volcano, still going strong, I hear. Is that going to be what does it? Knowing it's not natural, any more natural than the levee blowing out in New Orleans. Not natural at all. Bro, it was the waves and erosion. It certainly was not. That was they. Just like everything else was they. Cause and effect for such deceptions and crimes against humanity. The wrath of God is coming upon them. Yeah, Child of God refers to the Simpsons episode, the canary. Also, part of that, if you watch that canary thing about the Simpsons, and they said, Mr. Burns, you're gonna. He said, no, this canary is legally the owner of this power plant. The canary was the one that would do the time. Just a bird. That's how they all got it bootlegged up, so it never lands on them. It always lands somewhere else. But it doesn't matter because they're not like us, just devil bots that the hive mind protects with all the other hive mind people. But that time is done. Eternal, never ending hell is where they're going. But we focus on where we're going. Someplace amazing. God has ready for us. That's where I focus, at least. But it is definitely running out of time. I don't know how long they can carry on the illusion for. Not much longer, though. Also, schools being empty. National Guard driving school buses. Just stories I've heard. We know why they don't have any school bus drivers. And or such is because of the mark of the beast. Cause and effect. In effect, they bring about their own demise. Not for us. If we woke up tomorrow in the zombie apocalypse, we would get to work. We would know what to do. But with the stagnant time, right now, we need to get stronger and ready for what's coming. That's why it exists. A grace period for you and I to continue to grow. Because remember, Satan's got his people here. God needs his. Both sides putting in work. But I guess right now is just a learning and drawing near to Christ. That's what right now is for. I'm glad to have the people that I have on here. Sometimes between like 14 and 30, some like that. Because if we had thousands, it would scroll so fast that we would never be able to talk with each other. Summertime is with us. Welcome, summertime. Glad to have you. Everybody is enjoying the show. Yeah, I love their stupid show. Also, what I'm going to do, I have this other camera here with memory cards in it. A lot of my older stuff from like over a decade ago. Not all of it, but some of the good stuff. Also, I'm going to use that. I'm just going to put that on my dash because this camera, this is my cell phone. And it only gets like a few minutes of recording. That one with the memory card can go for a long time. So I could put that onto the TV then and then film with this in a live stream off the TV and show you guys in HD. Because otherwise, I've noticed it's not as clear and crisp using other than Wi-Fi. Once you get out and you're using your phone, whatever, the quality goes down infinitely. But the ones I do where I record them come through crystal clear. So I'll just do it that way. I have this other camera I'll use. But earlier today, there was a lot of gang stalkers out doing what they do everywhere. A lot of them you know from such videos as mine. You've seen them before. You know the deal. But they're all around you as well. They're all around us. Everyone. The whole world has fallen under the sway of the wicked one way or another, except for a few of us. Very few will find it. The narrow gate. Doesn't say a whole bunch of people. Said that raised their hand and said they're going to heaven, because everybody in every church would, and people outside of them. All of them. And all of them in the collapse. And when they activate what everybody's been doing, the mark of the beast, that's where people are going to run to. They're going to run to their churches. To they. No doubt all set up long ago. They have crept into the church unaware. They went out from us, but they were not of us. You know who they are. I show you them. Hundreds of videos of serpents and such. That's who people are going to run to in the collapse, their churches. Like lambs to the slaughter, wolves in sheep's clothing will run. You understand? Pretending they're us. They would never believe you if you told them that right now. Most of these people ain't real. And the few real ones in here, God has hardened their hearts. And it goes back to the question. Become a fisher of men, right? And anybody who's ever gone fishing, you have to cast the lure out. Then you have to hook the fish. You got to catch it, right? Then you got to set the hook and reel it in without losing it. If you reel it in too fast and it breaks the line, it's gone. Or if it's too slow, it spits out the lure. So to become a fisher of men, where do you cast that lure? How deep down the rabbit hole do you go before people tell you to get out of there? You're crazy. Let them grow together till the end. They've married them and they've reproduced with them. They're all around you. Like, where do you go? How far down the rabbit hole? You're going to cast that lure before they cut that line and say, you're a crazy person. But in fact, you're not. Not at all. It's a tough answer. Where to cast that lure. How hard to pull so you don't break it and they go away. And I guess that's something we all have to learn ourselves. Because I don't know the answer to that. It's a tough one. The same way, when I asked the question of Christ healing the blind, were they physically blind? Or were they spiritually blind? Eyes that see, but never perceive. Ears that hear but never understand. Did he make them not stupid? Did he take the scales off their eyes? And they could see people for what they were, like God did to me? I don't know if there's an answer to that. I guess it doesn't really matter. What does matter is that he did it, one way or another. Just stuff I dwell upon, have been for a long, long time. Since I woke up, all these new questions that I never even thought about in a million years. You would ask that question to a church person, and they would blank out. They couldn't even fathom what you're even talking about. The blind, leading the blind. They have no depth in anything, no knowledge, no wisdom, no understanding, of zero. And that's what they're up there in their pulpits, in their illusion that they've created for themselves, that they actually know something. But in fact, they know nothing. And all those people that pastor's looking out over are dumber for being there that day, because they're being led by somebody that has zero. Or they're being led by they have crept into the church unaware. A lot more they than blind. Maybe 1%. I don't even know how many would even be human anymore as far as pastors. Where we're at now. And we're at the end. Only some birth pains, really bad, and that's how it goes for a while. Then the tribulation. And that's a wrap. That's where we're at. And that's why it has to happen. Because there won't be none of us left. No humans left if it didn't happen that way. Christ has to return and cut these days short. There'd be none of us left. There'd be no flesh left. No real humans left. Just the serpents and the bots. Sketchy trans world. Just backwards for life. Satan's world. Where the dudes are the chicks. And the chicks are the dudes. And mixed in there. You got a little bit dude, little bit chick, whole lot of Satan. And you have the serpents. All glory to Christ. God, for opening my eyes. Some of you can't see what I'm talking about, but you can feel it. We talked about that. It's just as valuable. Because most of the people won't. Only a remnant of a remnant. But what you have in walking by faith is that feeling. The feeling is just as important in all of you. And then being able to see. All I can do with that is tell you. I still get that same feeling though. And that's what, where the faith, I've always had that faith. Same thing you have. But it's still the same. Even with the being able to see, all of you have that feeling and that faith. And that's why I said God will use you as needed. The less you have to think, the better. Use this body as a vessel to glorify you. And he will. You don't have to worry about that part. They don't have that, what you and I have, that feeling where something feels a certain way. They don't have that. You do, and I do. That's important. And it will be extremely important when this place collapses. But God walks with us, no doubt. They have no authority over us. The darkness cannot penetrate the light. But that's who it's coming for. They. And that's why it's important. It says to come out of the world or come out from them or partake in their plagues. Do not partake with them, rather expose them. There's many different verses about they. They. Once you see them, don't partake with them. Just come out from them, right? Come out of the world. First thing you gotta do is understand who you are before you can do anything for anybody or teach anyone. That's important as well. Like none of those church people have that either. They don't have none of this. And if I even tried to, which I have, trust me, when I first woke up, they don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. Their secretaries don't want to hear it. Nobody wants to hear it. That was a long, long time ago. So long, in fact. I was thinking about when I first tried to show people with visual references. You know what I mean? I tried to tell people, but like at some point, and I have the pictures and I will find them at some point. It's a disposable camera. That's how far back in like '03. And manually it got developed. And I have pictures of what I started seeing in the sky and everything else, trying to explain to people. But you're never going to get through to. If I couldn't, nobody is. And you realize it's because God hardened their hearts. They can't. They just can't. And that's why I say you have to do for you before you can do for anyone. You have to understand who you are and what comes along with that and how special each and every one of you really are and what comes along with that as well. But they'll never, yeah, I can't even function amongst them. It's like being in the twilight zone that they can't see. I just can't be around them. But that's what it's always been that way. That's what it is now. It's nothing new. People that walked by faith, by feel, in their hearts, and or the people they could see. It's always been that way. Either way, try to tell somebody and they're like, yeah, you're crazy, bro. Yeah, you better hope so. Because you've married them and reproduced with them, sir. You're going to say, get out of my church. You're crazy. And you're teaching them. They're all in here. You go through there, maybe find one human if you're lucky, old man or something. Old people. And then what? He's going to say what? And everybody else is what? Not real? That's right, sir. All the blind being led by the blind. He's going to disagree, of course. And he's going to disagree as a pastor or a teacher that he's blind. He's never going to tell you that. but the questions you ask them, and that's where you go back to become a fisher of men. Where do you cast that lure in? How do you get them not to shut down? The most delicate angle. But even then, they're not going to see it because God has hardened their hearts, sent them the spirit of stupor to believe the lie. They don't have that feeling that you have. They don't have that in their heart, in their gut, just that feeling. They don't have that. It's not, and yet they're up there teaching people or pretending to. Their fancy churches or their rundown churches, doesn't matter. You can just picture them. Doesn't matter how they look, white or black or anywhere in between. Doesn't matter. All blind leading the blind, a theatrical performance starring them. But the biggest part about it is they have zero to offer. They got no wisdom. They got no knowledge. They have no understanding. They certainly don't have that feeling that you have in their hearts and their gut. They don't have that, but yet they're up there pretending to teach people, going through that circus, that theatrical performance. And at the end of it, if they do really good, they will get money given to them in under the disguise of donations, out of the goodness of the blind's hearts. They were being led by somebody blind. Now they're going to give that person some money and tell themselves they're good for another week. And that's how they go through life. And we were in it. I was born into it till I was in high school. The whole thing. Church, school. The same like 8 people in a classroom all year. But it was the best thing because the Bible study, the first 2 hours of the day was always Bible study all the way through until you got confirmed, the whole thing. And after that, it sucked. Plus, you had to do all the plays, play all the sports. I just remember like being out in the woods. I'll be out in the woods when I had like my own time, building forts, fishing, doing whatever kids do, just exploring. So I was free. All of my youth. Here in Wisconsin. And all of that leads up the same way all of your lives lead up to this right now. Yeah, I went to a Lutheran school. So we didn't have, that's like a Catholic thing, the confession. Yeah. Yeah, you tell it's men giving themselves authority over men, right? You tell them something and then you're forgiven. This man is going to forgive you for what? How? It's just like before the internet, like a data mining thing. No doubt they would go back, talk crap about that. Whatever people's confessions were. Whether they even kept it real, who knows? Both sides are blind. Just like a weird theatrical performance that goes on with people on autopilot. It's very surreal once you can see it for what it is. Once God opened your eyes. Like a Sims, yeah. That's what it is, though. Just an illusion. The whole thing's an illusion. The whole thing. Everything. I'm just trying to think of other stuff that the illusion, we talked about the auto industry, couldn't get computer chips for the cars. Whole industry ceased to exist. But it did cease to exist in real life sometime at that bailout back in like '09, 2010, whenever that bailout thing happened, that's when it died. But they couldn't have that happen then. So they had to create an illusion for another 10 years or so till now. And under the disguise of the computer chip, shortage, the auto industry dies. And there's no new cars on lots, or very, very few. But it died like in '09. And just the illusion went on for a little while. Only an illusion, though. You ever ask yourself who's buying all those new cars, all these new houses, and all these new neighborhoods they're building? I can't imagine. It's all for the bots. It's all part of the illusion. All these things must come to pass, and it will go that way until the collapse. And it'll come to an abrupt halt. But it'll just keep going, for real, till it lands on their doorstep. They're never going to tell you whatever they think is coming. And what they think is coming, they're deceived. They deceive the masses because they're allowed to, yet they too are deceived. For their father is the father of lies, and he's going to show up here and use them as a stepping stool to make people think he's a good guy. They're going to cheer wildly when he does, because he'll promise everything's going to go back to the way it was. How that plays out with the Project Bluebeam, a worldly term for a staged alien invasion. It doesn't really matter how it plays out. You know how it's going to play out. We talked about it. You know the deal. Slight variations in it. But none of it is for you or I at all. For we are, as it says in Colossians, hid with Christ. Just got to read Colossians. Some good verses in there. Also in Deuteronomy, talks about how for 40 years they didn't need clothes or shoes or food or nothing. And it said so you will know I'm the Lord your God. So when people are stockpiling, and the preppers, I'm sure you've heard that word as well, prepper, but they're putting their faith in themselves. They're dead already. Army people all over the world building bigger cannons or tank gun, whatever they do, all putting their faith, their trust in themselves, that they can build a big enough tank or whatever. No different than somebody stockpiling food. They're putting their faith in themselves, that they're going to figure out how they're going to get through. But we know the deal. You can't. You have to have 100% faith and completely out of the world. Don't try to hang on. Like we talked about, a lot of the trap, let them grow together till the end. So people that have married them and reproduced with them, which is just about everybody, are going to have that trap of everyone around them that they've ever known in life are going to be telling them what to do and trying to get these people to do something. And that's going to be the biggest trap, the family aspect and friends, not knowing. Let them grow together. They're all ravenous wolves that only exist to deceive you and drag you straight to hell. I'm so glad I am not in that position. And they don't see them. They don't know it. To them, it's just people they grew up with and people they're around every day. They'll kick you out of their church. They don't want to hear that crap. They will pick and choose what they want to hear. And unfortunately, that's not going to work. They're all dead already. All of them. All of them. The narrow gate, very few, read that verse. It ends with, very few will find it. And you and I are starting to realize how very few. Very few. Come out from them. But every one of them will raise their hand. If you say, how many of you are going to heaven? Every person in every church will raise that hand. That's where people are going to run into collapse. Right today. But let God's will be done and not ours. You always got to ask yourself, why are you doing it? Is it God's will or yours? Because if they can't wake up, they're not going to wake up, no matter what you tell them. But like I said, in the collapse, I think people, at least the very few that are left, will be way more open to hearing you or me. Like I said, God will bring them to you, or you to them. God will use you as needed. You need not worry about that. Let tomorrow worry about itself, right? But use this time to draw near to Christ, understanding who you are, what that feeling each and every one of you have is, how special that is. They don't have that. How special each one of you are. Because the time is short. God bless each and every one of you. I'm going to wrap it up now. And we will get back after this. Tomorrow night. Tuesday night. Take care. All glory to Christ.